Welcome to the OMZ Property Podcast, your go-to guide for navigating the world of property investing. I am your host, and in every episode, I sit down with property investors, developers, and top industry experts to share their insights, strategies, and inspiring stories. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just getting started, join us as we explore all aspects of building wealth through property. Welcome back to another episode of the OMZ Property Podcast. I'm here today with Jack Townsend from the Estate Trader. Welcome. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making the journey. Not a short one for you as well. I seem to be getting people travelling from all parts of the country.
Northern or in London.
Yeah, so I thought it would be great to start off by getting to know you. So the viewers can get to, they know me already, didn't they? So get to know you a little bit. So if you could tell us like who you are, what you do, and kind of a bit about your background as well, if possible.
So my name's Jack Townsend. I'm from North Nottinghamshire, Mansfield Town. I was an electrician by trade. I started buying properties. Bought my first house when I was 19. I actually worked down a coal mine then. I was an underground electrician in a coal miner.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I just started buying properties in my early 20s. I haven't stopped. Didn't really know much about any strategies. I had 15 houses. I lived with my mum and dad. And then I started to, when I first started buying properties, there was no YouTube. There wasn't anything. I used to go down to my local paper shop and buy the paper, to look at properties that were listed and try and get the phone call before anybody else on a Wednesday and a Saturday morning. So there was no Rightmove, no internet. Yeah, I feel old saying that.
Yeah, no,
every time I say that, I feel old.
No, it's really interesting. So,
yeah.
so obviously you started off as an electrician, what was the reason you like? Why did you buy your first property? What got you started?
Just some advice. Getting one of my friends' dads is a big property investor. Advice from him really.
Said do something with your money, son. Don't just
exactly that. Yeah, and I actually worked at Lloyds TSB for about 3 months as I left school. I actually worked in Lloyds TSB while I was in school doing Saturday mornings. So I always understood money, inflation. I always knew about edging inflation. I always knew that your money corroded in the bank at an early age. So that's why I decided to go to property. And then, just continued to buy. I was hands-on. So me and my dad did a lot of my properties up. And then when I started to learn the strategies, then that was when, because I just had them all on repayment mortgages. I didn't even think about interest only. So when interest only, the seed was planted in my mind, I refinanced all my properties, and a lot of them had grew in value. I'd got a lot of them cheap, added the value through the refurb. So then I had a chunk of capital. So I had a couple 100K in my late 20s. And then I started to build with a friend. So we did new builds. We did about 5-6 developments, a few plots each, doing really well. That came to a bit of an abrupt end. We built 2 houses, the last development that we did. And it was just when the interest rate was just hiking. 2 big 4-bed detached, 2,000 square foot, so good sizes. Put them up for 380K. The trajectory of the market was going up, a bit keenly priced, and they didn't sell. They didn't sell because the interest rate was going up. Nothing sold. It wasn't you could say the price point. I'd say the bracket of where the price point were. Anything from 280 to 400K. People just couldn't afford. With the interest rate going up, so we couldn't sell. So we had to refinance, and we've still got the properties now that we rent out. So we're selling those now.
Oh, okay.
And then we're out of that, but we made some money, made some good money. We were hands on. I was like even though I was an electrician, I just love being in the digger. I love groundworks as well.
Do you? Wow.
Yeah, I love joinery as well. Yeah. Jack of all trades, master at none.
Jack, the jack of all trades.
That's it. Yeah. So I was in the digger, and I was in charge of the groundworks up to dam. Robbo. Adam, my business partner, he was in charge of the internal works and getting it wind and watertight. We both chipped in. So yeah, good formula, it worked. When it comes to an abrupt end, but whether I go into new builds again after this sale, I don't know. But while we started new builds in my late 20s, I started doing HMOs as well. I had a few HMOs, a few 4-beds, but then I got onto the sui generis train, you could say. And I've probably done, I've got about 24 HMOs and about 15, 16 sui generis, 7, 8 bedders, got 14 bedder.
You're not messing about then?
No, it's really,
well, couple
really
of things.
growing.
Couple of things. If I ever need a ground worker in and I'm doing anything in Mansfield, I know where to come.
You need a bulb change as well.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to introduce a sponsor of the channel. Trinity Finance is a directly authorised FCA regulated mortgage brokerage. Founded in 2015 with over 30 mortgage brokers, we're really well placed to help you with all your property finance needs. Starting with first-time buyers and those moving home, we also help people remortgaging residential and buy-to-let property. Alongside that, we specialise in ground-up development, commercial lending, HMO funding, mezzanine, auction, and also your traditional buy-to-let. If that's of interest, get in contact with us via email at info@trinityfinance.co.uk, or you can give us a ring on 01322 907 000. And we look forward to hearing from you. Let's jump into this sui generis / HMO conversation, because I've had a lot of people who watch the podcast that are looking at HMO as like a real strategy to kind of move out of the buy-to-let space or just try and get better yield. And it seems to be there's a big surge of people looking at HMOs. So I think some people will find that really interesting. And we'll touch on all the other things that you've spoken about as well, and just get to know a little bit about more why you're doing things. But so one of the things about the sui generis HMO, and I suppose the north-south divide, is we clearly in this part of the country have a much larger capital value on these properties. And so when you're doing a sui generis HMO, the yield-based commercial red book valuation, whatever you want to call it, does for most areas in the southeast or around the south of the country come in at higher than the bricks and mortar value. But the discrepancy between those two amounts is nowhere near when you go perhaps up north. So I have seen some HMO valuations up north on 7, 8 bed HMOs where they are being valued at 100k a room, 85k a room, 90k a room in really good locations, close to train stations and things. And then you look at the capital value of a normal house on that road, even with a rear extension and a loft conversion and whatever else, and it's like 350k or 300k. You're actually doubling the value of the property by taking it into a yield-based valuation. If you compare that to our location down here, it's never that, as far as I know from what I'm doing, it's never that huge jump. The question to put you on the spot straight away is, how do you feel about that? So when you are doing these sui generis HMOs, are you revaluing them on yield basis? Are you pulling out all your money? Do you feel comfortable with that scenario? How's that going for you?
It's been a good tool. I've generated a lot of income from doing it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the concern is that you're highly leveraged. Aren't you? You know, if you're taking them up to 75% loan to value, you're highly leveraged, and I don't want to progress forward from that. But I've generated a lot of cash flow. You know, I've got a lot of single lets as well. I've done blocks of flats. Got about 23 single lets, flats, houses, which I'm about, you know.
Oh, you got half a Mansfield, it sounds like to me. You're doing well.
Not yet.
Really good, yeah.
But yeah, I'm about 55-60% loan to value on those, and I want to keep them at that. I'm not going to pull any money out. Whereas my HMO's 75%. You know, I'm taking it right up to what the bank would let me. Just to, you know, some of mine have been all money out plus more because my skill set is doing the refurb. I'm obsessed with the most optimum way of doing a refurb. I've now got a project manager full time, and I'm on him big time. You
know, it's really interesting because I love where this conversation could potentially go on just chatting with you openly about things. But one of the things I find is, you know, in property, you make money in one of 3 ways typically, but some people have mastered all of them, and that's like the triple whammy, if you like, at really becoming successful. You're either buying these properties at amazing prices using auctions or off market, direct to vendor, whatever you're doing, distressed assets, or just really finding good opportunities that have got planning gain and whatever else. Or the second option, or you may be doing some of that, the second option is that you are in construction or run a construction business and you're able to kind of keep those margins so low because you are literally doing the nitty gritty day to day, paying people CIS, and like a lot of people are doing, managing that really closely, have full control over it, and therefore you're making a margin on that bit. Or you're on the back end, you are amazing at getting these properties staged and revalued and, getting the valuations to appear as large as possible. And if you can master all those three things, it becomes an amazing solution to building a property empire. So talk me through the construction side. Obviously, electrician loves to get on a 2-ton digger and mess about with soil. But how are you managing that construction phase on your HMOs, and what are you doing differently than other people, I suppose?
I wouldn't say I'm doing anything different. I'm just doing everything the optimum way, just little things. If I catch some lads on side moving some rubbish to one location to go into the skip, you've got to move it once. And that's loads of different scenarios like that, where you only move a load once, you don't move it twice to move it again. You've got to think along them lines. I'm on site at, you see, I've always got at least 2-3 projects on the go. So I try to get on site at 7 in the morning. I have a walk round. I can't stop myself. I'm there. I wake up, I'm all I can think about is getting there. And all I do is have a walk round, like calibrate myself to what's happening, make some notes, quick 10 minutes of project manager on to the next. And that's how I've been for years now. So
you're bang on it with efficiency then, essentially, aren't you? It's making sure that people are working effectively, doing what they should be doing, and not messing stuff up for other people, because sometimes people are doing a job and end up doing it twice, sometimes 3 times over.
Exactly.
And that happens daily, doesn't it, on building sites? So
what's really good as well is the team that I've got now, we've gone from HMO to HMO to HMO for the past 5-6 years now. So the team that I've got a team of 7 people full-time on the construction, got 4 people in the office full-time. So everybody's on point, front end, back end. We get a HMO. I've got a guy in the office that sorts all the utilities out, council tax, everything. On the back end, he sorts the internet out, even orders all the ubiquitous, as we use, the routers. So everything is geared up. So
it's proper systemized business then. This is not like you on your own messing about trying to create some HMOs. You've created a team of people around you that are actually, you're able to churn these out as products essentially. So what, if I don't know the area at all, but what are HMOs valuing for in that location, and what's the room rents, and talk us through a little bit about like some of your current projects if you can. Yeah,
so Mansfield, we just had an Amazon building about 5-6 years ago, and the market just went crazy. And
for people working at Amazon that need rooms,
so the market just exploded. I mean, my rents went from $450 right up to $600 now, $580, $600, $625. I've got some at $650.
Are these ensuite rooms?
All ensuite.
Yeah.
I've probably got about 40-50 rooms that aren't ensuite. About 90 to 100 rooms that are all ensuite. Really, nice rooms. But the market's changing in Mansfield. I think it's plateaued a bit. So I'm trying to get out of HMOs. I'm looking at going into my home city, Nottingham, looking at some projects there. For me, HMOs are it can't last forever like this, especially in my town, Mansfield Town, North Notts. And I know countrywide as well, everybody seems to be doing HMOs. So now, for me, the HMOs that I've got on going at the minute are going to be real nice finishes. I'm going to spend a lot of money because they've got to, when people are scrolling down, they've got to look good because it's getting a bit cutthroat,
Yeah, I think that's happening in various places throughout the UK. I think that, well, there's a couple of interesting things. I think I've mentioned this on a previous podcast, but I saw a talk from someone who's quite well known in the HMO space, and I thought that the whole of the UK is being absolutely saturated with HMO conversions and the loss of family homes all being turned into C4 sui generis HMOs. The stats actually show that there are more HMOs being converted back into C3 residential houses. This is older stock, exiting landlords. than are actually being created. Then the supply of HMOs is actually going down rather than up, if you look at the stats.
Yeah.
But because you're in a circle of other property developers and everyone sees HMOs as an amazing strategy, all you hear about is that, and you do it yourself day in, day out. So you think the UK is being fully saturated with HMOs. What seems to be happening is the standard of them is getting more and more and more. I mean, look at some of the areas I'm investing in. If you're not doing tea stations and you're not doing en-suites and you're not putting a little mini cinema in and doing this and that, it's like, well, there's better HMOs and they're going to rent for more than yours. And everyone seems to be competing for the actual finish of what these HMOs are going to look like. So, it's an interesting one. I suppose if you've got high concentration in one area, you're just comparing constantly, aren't you? Like whether this is viable or not. I'm rabbiting on a bit. But the only other thing to just maybe talk about briefly as well, when you look at like the UK in general as a small little island where we can't create any more land and having all these problems with not being able to deliver the amount of housing that we should, I'm not saying that this will go on forever, but there is certainly a need for working professionals and social housing in rooms with all bills included that I don't think will ever disappear. There'll always be a need for a HMO. It's just, are we ever going to get to the point where we've completely saturated it? Well, if they start building some, I think I read something, there's 1.3 million people on the social housing list waiting for social housing, yeah? And every time you create these rooms, I don't know if you're working with working professionals or social housing tenants, but you're creating rooms, you're creating more supply of housing into the market. It's a kind of a feeling of, will that ever get to the point where actually there's too many rooms and now the prices start coming back down?
It's something definitely to consider.
Because you got to think carefully about that, especially if you're going to continue to grow and operate in it. I mean, I've got a client who had a very large HMO portfolio and they exited to a REIT about 2.5 years ago now, and I won't name who it is, but he basically says it's the best thing he ever did coming out of it. He'd been doing it for 15 years. He's completely stressed and overrun building it for such a long period of time. And he got some really good money back out of it selling. So it sounds like you're fed up of HMOs actually, but what's your sort of long-term goal for the HMO portfolio? Will you look to sell it at some point?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, right into the sunset, move to Ibiza.
Or Dubai, as everyone's off to.
I've not been to Dubai yet, but I know it's a bit of a tax haven.
Yeah.
But that is my plan to sell.
To sell, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. You've got to look at the peak and the trough.
So have you got a brand for your HMOs? Are they all branded?
No, Estate Trader is the name, the platform. I've got a group company structure with all my little SPVs and what have you, 6 other companies. But with HMOs, the deals that I've got on go at the minute, I've got a 13-bed HMO, which is in planning, target date 22nd of this month, fingers crossed. Pre-planning before, which came back positive. I've got a 5-bed HMO. But all these HMOs that I'm doing now, I'm looking at putting kitchenettes in, real like self-contained. You've got your 37 square metres for a flat, that you can get on prior approval. Anything under that, it's a HMO style. So I'm trying to create like cluster flat style HMOs. If you've got a kitchen and 2 rooms that share that kitchen, you've got 2-3 other rooms that have kitchenettes, that's a HMO. So you need to try and get under the council tax as well, which can drive tenants out. So I've got this 13-bedder, which is going to be all self-contained. I've got a 5-bedder, which I've just agreed, had to terms on yesterday. That's just about to go to planning. Architects are booked in. I've got a 8-bedder, which is ongoing at the minute, which is getting plastered. I've got a pub conversion, which is ongoing at the minute, which has got a 10-bed HMO above, shop on the ground floor. We're doing all the front facade to it, which has been an absolute nightmare, by the way. It's a grade 2 listed heritage building. I've had to put here.
Sounds fun.
It's the first time I've ever bought a bag of goats here.
Oh, really?
So I had to buy a bag of goats there, put it in the line render, and render it on the front.
But the thing is, you've been doing this a long time. You just take that in your stride, didn't you? And I know it's a bit of an unknown for you, but some people would absolutely have a complete meltdown over even getting anywhere close to a building that had anything to do with heritage. So I can see, I mean, for someone who's got this much going on, You don't look stressed to me at all.
I'm stressed.
Oh, you?
The grey hairs are coming.
Oh, you look fairly chilled.
I've said to myself, I'm going to go flat out till I'm 40.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go even more flat out. I'm going to go till I'm 40,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to chill out a bit. I'm going to have Fridays off, try and get my handicap down on the golf course. That's my plan.
Sounds great.
But I'm getting out of HMOs. I've also got.
What's the plan to sell it? Will you sell the whole lot together? Will you sell them individually? How will you exit? Just however it gets done.
Punt it out to some pension funds and see. Yeah.
Amazing.
See what's happening.
Can I ask you, like, inspiring what you're doing? Like, I'm sure a lot of people listening and watching will think, wow, this is amazing. And especially if you're in and around that area, it will encourage those people from someone working in a coal mine to all of a sudden creating a load of property wealth and changing probably lots of people's lives around you that you help, that pay their mortgages and, all the rest of it. But what's the reason? Like, what's actually driving you? Why have you been driven to do this?
I've always liked money. That was the driving force at first. Now it's my kids. Got 3 boys, so the shares are getting liquidated at pace. So yeah, it's my kids really. Yeah, I just want to create a bit of a legacy for them. I do. Another deal I didn't mention, by the way, trying to get out of HMOs. I've got a big. It's my biggest deal. It's the next step for me. It's a 24,000 square foot building.
Wow.
5 shops on the ground floor. There's 4 shops in the basement. There's a 5th shop, and then you've got first, second, third floors. You've got the gross internal area is 15,000 square foot of the residential.
This is something you're buying right now?
We're exchanging on very soon.
Wow.
The net internal area is 13,500 square foot. It's going to be 30 flats. Fingers crossed under prior approval.
Would you share what you're buying it for, what it might cost you, and what it might be worth?
It's going to be 950k the purchase. The build cost is going to be 1.7, and the GDV is going to be 3.6. What's really hard, what I'm finding going into the bigger deals, is I've had a valuation. I've had a proper RICS valuation. A RICS valuer per square foot, what they could do a build cost at, is always a lot higher than what I can do it at.
Yeah.
So
what are they saying? 180 per square foot or something, and you're probably building it at 150 or less, maybe even.
Yeah, far less. It's hard to put across going up to the next step. My skill set, I could tell you now, new builds, I could do them at £140 per square foot. HMOs.
Can you move to London, do some of my new builds for me?
I could do HMOs from 70 to £90 per square foot.
Yeah.
Commercial to resi, which is what I'm looking at, £100 per square foot.
We've got a big problem in London. I mean, there's a big problem in the whole of the UK. You've got all of these sort of like experienced construction workers of actually, I mean, if you go back years, we used to have these amazing people in construction. You think like stonemasons and all these people that were like real masters at their crafts. They sort of don't seem to exist anymore. There's very few and far between. But you've got like a sort of retiring construction group of people that are, you think about, I'm thinking about my bricklayer now, the one that I used to use who's now retired. He was amazing, retired. You look at sort of how many new bricklayers are coming in, they're not keeping up with the level that are retiring. So we've got this fundamental problem in the UK of not enough construction workers, and the costs are just going, certainly in London, the problem's even bigger in the southeast, but the costs, people want to get paid because they're in such demand. I don't think there's enough apprentices coming in, and it doesn't seem to be, I mean, actually, if I could go back now and be 18 again and think, what should I do? I'd go into a trade. I'd pick one of the ones that I'd get the most money for and learn a craft and do that. I didn't at the time, but it seems a lot of youngsters, they just want to be a famous YouTuber or become a footballer, or the goal of being trust me, if you're young and watching this, learn how to be a bricklayer, because they can make an absolute fortune if they can get really good at what they're doing. And okay, it's a hard craft, but get yourself a good labourer.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
If I could just add on that, just while it's fresh in my head.
Yeah, go for
When
it.
I did my first build, the bricklayers charged me £500 per thousand. Now it's £750 per thousand. In 5 years? That's insane.
Yeah. Well, I tell you now, you're lucky to get it done that way, because down in London they won't even consider giving you a price per 1,000. It's either you're lucky to have someone who'll work on a day rate who then doesn't want to lay 1,000 bricks in a day because they just want to drag it out for as long as they can, or they're doing price work and they'll make a real good margin on their price work.
Because they can. Supply and demand.
So
it's going to be a bottleneck, and the price just hikes.
Yeah. But, if you think from the flip coin, you want to get started in property. Well, if you're a contractor of some sort and you've got a skill set, it's so transferable, isn't it? If you're an electrician, you can always rewire a property, can't you? And you can use that skill set to build a property portfolio.
That's where, if I'm bidding on buildings, I can always bid that bit more. If I'm in a bidding war with someone on a property, which I know would make a good HMO, I'm willing to pay that little bit more because my margin can be squeezed down from the build cost that I can do. Nobody can do it at the price that I'm doing it. I can pretty much say that I'm doing it the most optimum way. Yeah. Because most people have to get an electrician package, a plumbing package. I've got sparkies that work for me, plumbers that work for me. Yeah,
you are the main contractor essentially on all your projects, aren't you? Exactly. You're paying everyone on day rates or some price work on specialist stuff. But
exactly that, and no one could pull the rug from under me. I've been doing it that many years now.
And the other thing with that, I do something similar to you, but not on your scale, is the control that you get. When you control the people that work for you on the construction sites, you can get things done quicker, more efficiently, at a lower cost. And you've also never got this, sometimes you can lose in certain scenarios, but you've never got this thing of someone going bust on you, or you paying someone and then not delivering because they're there and you're there every day going around checking and watching what they're doing, and you're in control of buying materials. And so there's a lot of advantages, so because I do a lot of development finance for my clients. That's my background. I'm run a mortgage brokerage. But one of the things that I always find when I arrange development finance for clients is one of the biggest considerations for the lender is not always the developer's experience, but also who is the individual, who is the contractor that is actually going to deliver the project. And quite often we'll find someone who's come to us who wants to, convert a commercial building into flats, but prior to that, they've just done some HMO conversions or they've done some flips, and they haven't had themselves that relevant experience of taking this commercial building and converting it into loads of flats. And the lender will say, well, right, okay, who's the main contractor? Is there going to be a JCT in place? And how's that going to work? And the developer may give someone who they want to use as their main contractor, and that person's probably been the person that's been working with them on all the smaller projects, and they now want them to step up and do this project, which is kind of a little bit out of their depth. And there are ways around it, but essentially one of the things that the lender is mainly concerned about is the contractor going to deliver, or are they just going to get out? It's going to be out of their depth and they're going to leave. Yeah. That's the biggest risk for a lender, is the contractor pulling out and not continuing. So by running the construction business yourself is essentially what you're doing, and doing this, you eradicate that risk, don't you, of that ever happening to you? So
yeah, it's still facing challenges with it though, because the pub conversion that I've just done in my group company structure, I've now got a construction company, which did it on a JCT. Which is the first JCT my construction company has done, which is, me, the sole director. So going into the bigger development, 30 flats, 30,500 square foot, that's where I'm going to have, it's going to be a bit trying to convince the lender that I can do it. I know I can do it. I've worked on blocks of flats as an electrician, and I feel really confident I can do it, but portraying that to a lender, it's going to be a JCT. A JCT can be watertight, but it's my construction firm. Yeah. So that's the challenge that I'm up against on this. This.
Well, if you need help, deal. I'll give you the name of a lender who'll do that for you off air. No, really interesting, mate. And as I said, hats off to you for what you're doing. Will you keep the 30 flats in this commercial building? Is that one that you'd like to? Is it a build to rent essentially?
I've got no interest. I've got no interest in selling at all. I've just said to myself, I'm going to go flat out till I can get to £1 million gross profit. Do that in a few years. I do it before I'm 40. I live in Mansfield, not Mayfair. If I can't live on £1 million gross profit, there's something wrong. Yeah, so that I've set myself a target. I'm not going to stop till I've done that. Yeah. And then I'll just think
cool,
about things.
Amazing. Prior to you coming in, I just had a quick browse on your Instagram. I've seen you're quite active on there. Am I right in saying that you've got? So I know you said you've got 6 companies, group structure, but have you got an estate agency business as well, or is it a lettings business?
Letting agency, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started a letting agency about 1.5 years ago. I wasn't ready for how hard it's been.
Compliance, yeah.
Because I could have drafted someone in to take over, but if I'm going to run a business, I need to know the ins and outs. So just gaining the software knowledge that we use.
What software are you using?
Alto.
I've not heard of that one.
Yeah, okay. Alto. Yeah, it's all singing and dancing. And I was doing the accounts, and I've just got an accounts manager on 2 days a week now. So, because I was doing the accounts, got that many payments coming in, we're taking on external landlords as well. So pretty much in Mansfield, we control the HMO market, you could say, or, the HMOs that we're taking on soon, it's pretty much going to be under a state trader. But it's been really hard because we've grown, we're already nearly at the VAT threshold. The majority of them, of the turnover is my portfolio as well. So that comes with challenges as well, because I don't want to grow into a big letting agency. I don't want to compete with the likes of Bairstow Eves, Frankiness, which are, big players up in the Midlands. That is not a direction that I want to go. I just want to generate some income to pay some bills.
Yeah, the only things that I'm just sort of thinking about, this is probably like the business side of my mind, where I'm always thinking about opportunities and things, but by owning a HMO portfolio and then also owning a letting agent, the 2 businesses you can clearly see are totally complementary to each other. You may move profit margins from one and pay the other to keep it going and whatever, but you essentially own those 2 things. From a sort of buyer perspective, if they were coming and saying, right, we're interested in acquiring a load of HMOs for whatever reason, they want to add that into a portfolio. They a lot of the time they're going to look at a number of things. Is it systemized in terms of what's the maintenance like? What's the management of it like? And the fact that I don't know if you thought about this, that you could potentially dispose of that lettings business in combination with the HMO portfolio is quite attractive to someone that wants to buy that, rather than, right, here's 150 rooms or 200 room HMO portfolio that we're selling. And oh, by the way, nothing against Bairstow Eves in Mansfield, but Bairstow Eves are managing it. They're charging us 15% and they do the check-ins, the check-outs, the inventories, and it's completely hands-off. Actually, there's a business that's doing that and the margins are lower because we operate and own that business. It seems quite an attractive
absolutely,
thing to sell to
it all be in the pot when it comes up for sale. Absolutely, yeah.
Because these lettings books, they are worth money, aren't they? The recurring income is valued at a certain
absolutely amount, and everything's for sale, isn't it? Everything has its price. Totally. If anyone's watching it, they want to put a bid in.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just hoping there's an owner of a big REIT or a pension fund that's thinking, do you know what? We want to get into some HMOs in Mansfield, and there's a great contact here that you can reach out to. Yeah. On that note, I will share, if it's okay with you, your Instagram page and anything else that you want me to share in the notes in case anyone wants to check you out and stuff like that, which would be good. Yeah. Cool. So what's next? You've got the big one. How long will that 30 flat commercial to resi scheme, how long do you think that will take you to deliver?
We should have exchanged January. We haven't exchanged yet. Just legals. As you know, legals are a nightmare. So we haven't exchanged yet. So I've got exchanged. I've got the end stop for 12 months to get it through planning, prior approval. With an extension.
You've got a delayed completion for 12 months?
Yeah.
Amazing.
With an extension just in case, because the planning system's a nightmare. The deals that I've got on go at the minute, my money is pretty much spoken for all this year, going into next year. So, and then I'm not going into any more deals. The ones that I've got on going at the minute and into planning. So all my money will go into the big deal, because that's my problem really. I'm self-funded. I haven't got no investors on board, no equity partners. It's all me. I have took debt on from investors.
That's a nice problem to have, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, when I go into this big deal, I'm going to have to get an electrical package out, a bit of a joinery package. With my construction knowledge, I can dangle some carrots to some plumbers and electricians and try and squeeze the margins down on those particular packages. but when it's
because it's at scale, it's a little bit. If you've got 3 or 4 carpenters that you know and that can work for you, that's different to something which is actually I need to deliver this in this time scale, and so you need a bigger outfit, don't you? So,
exactly that. So getting the right people on the job. So that's probably going to start. I mean, give or take early next year. I'd say 10 months fit out. So that's going to take me well into next year. I'm actually, because I've not really been on social media that long.
Okay.
Yeah, my page has probably only been going a year and a half, 2 years,
right,
I think.
Yeah.
It's already starting to gain traction because I'm doing smaller HMOs now. I've got a couple of small HMOs, 4 and 5 bed that I've leased to housing providers, the likes of Serco, supported living, stuff like that. So
how do you find that? I've not delved into that too much. I've got clients that lease to supported living, but I've not done that on any of my own stuff. What would your feedback be on it?
They've got to be bang on. You've got to really, if whatever they want, handrails anywhere, you've got to get the full spec. Can be really complicated. The fire doors have got to close perfect, but the cash flow is insane. Full management leases. That's a nice little income for. Sorry
to interrupt. For anyone that's listening to this, because I'm conscious of there might be people listening thinking, what the hell is Serco? What the hell is a supported living? Could you just give us a little bit of an overview on that, just in case people want to understand it?
Yes, supported living is just for vulnerable people that need support in living. Just complex needs. Yeah. So you have to make it adaptations to the house, to the bathroom, to the kitchen, however they want it. The likes of Serco, Serco are essentially
a provider, aren't they?
Yeah,
but they
immigrants coming over,
mainly asylum seekers.
Immigrants coming over. Serco are really good, but can be really bad. I've not actually, touch wood, had any problems with Serco yet.
But they're government backed, are they? Or
government backed? They've got £1 billion government backed contract. For me, they're the cream at the minute. They really are. You got a government backed. I've got a house. It's a 3-bed end terrace. Converted it to a 4-bed HMO. The build cost would have been about 12k, new kitchen, new bathroom. To convert it into a HMO, which is compliant to how they want it, was an extra 2k. So bought the house, done the refurb, spent the extra 2k on turning it into a HMO how they wanted it. Leased, gone £1,500 for just shy of 7 years. If I were to rent that house out, it'd have been £750 per calendar month. I mean, to me, that is the cream at the minute. So while I'm doing this big development, my money's tied up, I'm going to get JVs on board with investors that want to take it down that direction and get into some smaller HMOs and lease them to housing providers and Serco.
Yeah, it sounds like quite a interesting model for people that want to do that. I'm not sure if they're operating across the whole of the country or what their demand's like and stuff, but certainly an interesting one.
You've got, for me, my HMOs are the professional market. So if you look at Mansfield Town Centre, you look at the majority of my sui generis big HMOs, looking at the professional market. If you go out of town to the suburbs of Mansfield, the likes of Serco and housing associations will want HMOs in those areas,
right?
Whereas they're never going to work in the professional market. So if you can drive in a town and assess it and look in the town centre, look on Rightmove, look at the deals that you think that you can get in the town centre, you can also look on the outskirts as well, because these HMOs work on the outskirts. Because of course they need to be next to transport links and stuff like that, but they're desperate for bed spaces. So you can really do a HMO anywhere in the country. Yeah, there's 2 comparables there: professional and housing association. Even councils. We're talking to councils that are in a 30-mile radius now of us, and because my staff in the office, every Thursday we're sourcing. Every Thursday we're on the ball, looking at Rightmove, looking at deals. Really badgering councils. Do you want to start leasing some HMOs? We're a HMO provider. So we're having all these conversations now, and the engine's really moving. All we need is investors on board that want to come on as equity partners, and it's
which you've not really been doing that to date, have you? But now would be a time to try and get a few of these deals moving forward, whilst you've got some bigger things on the go as well.
Exactly that, yeah.
Jack, for anyone, again, who's listening and watching this, who's perhaps much earlier because this is one of the main reasons I wanted to start the podcast. One, just to have some like really cool, inspiring people on and have really great conversations, because I just think anyone wants to listen to that. But secondly is for thinking back to when I first started, or perhaps when you first started, these podcasts didn't exist. I couldn't go on YouTube and learn a load of stuff and listen to some things and then get inspired and think, I'm going to go and do that. Just learnt by rolling your sleeves up and doing a refurb on the weekends. So if someone's listening now who's like thinking what to do with their life, yeah, or perhaps they're in a job, or perhaps they've got some money, or perhaps they're, thinking, is property the thing for them? Or they might even have a few properties, but they're doing it the old school way and need to do something a bit smarter. Like, what would be your biggest advice to someone who wants to get started? What should they do? What would be the first thing someone should get on with?
Straight on the internet, get learning. From me, I bought my first property at 19 right up to my late 20s. Didn't really have any education at all. When I say at all, I was saving up, buying a house with just a normal deposit, no refinance, saving up again for the best part of 8-9 years. And I got to 15 properties. If I'd have been 19, 20, and I'd have had my phone as it is now with everything there, all the education is there, YouTube videos, learn the strategies. If you really want it, it's there. It's in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, amazing.
It really is. So
education first, yeah?
Yeah, just engross yourself in YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't even watch telly now. I just go, I watch your podcasts, I watch everybody else's. I completely engross myself in property. It's almost like an addiction for me.
I do as well.
Yeah.
I find myself late at night thinking, that's a load of rubbish on telly. It's not going to add any value to my life at all. Yeah. Whereas this will, because I can just take one little nugget from this. And, I think as you do it, at the beginning, you gain huge amounts, don't you? The learning curve is very steep. But as you do it for a long time, sometimes you only just take one little thing from it.
Yeah.
But that one little thing can change your perspective on stuff and make your trajectory different. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's all the internet now. The internet is brilliant and it's also terrible.
Yeah.
It's like my kids at the minute. At Christmas, I bought them a silver sovereign.
Oh, right.
So me, I don't like to keep any cash in the bank. I put money into gold and silver ETFs. Some in the stock market. So I'm trying to teach my kids at an early age the value of a silver sovereign today. I'm going to buy them one every Christmas so they can see the value. And then when they're 16, they can buy a car with it. So they can see and understand inflation from a physical piece of silver in the hand.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so I'm really, I'm really trying to, and my kids, my kids, all they do is watch YouTube at the minute. Don't get me wrong. My oldest is 7, but they watch YouTube. They watch people playing on a computer that they play. It's insane.
Yeah.
But I think, I watch it and I think, I'm thinking, mate,
why don't you just play it and enjoy it?
You're watching someone play it, and they're watching someone play it. It's insane. But as they get older, I'm trying to install them, to recognise inflation and how to edge it and realise that this government is inflating us to bits, so through the internet and through my teaching. So anybody getting onto property or the matter of fact, anything at the minute, if you want to go and do it, it's there on the internet. And everything and anything. I can remember when the internet first come out, I had a car, my radiator went on a YouTube channel. It taught me how to change the radiator.
Yeah, I've done loads of things like that. Just Google, sometimes
it went a week later. But everything's there.
Yeah,
everything is there.
It's super interesting.
So much opportunity now for for a 19-year-old. When I bought my first property, if I'd have known what I know now, that's on the internet.
You've really hit the nail on the head here, actually. And one of the things that I've been sort of thinking about recently is, sometimes people start off in their property journey and they really make some mistakes, right? They'll overpay for something, they'll overspend with a builder that probably rips them off quite a lot, and then they'll go and try and come out the back end. And they may come out okay, but one of the reasons they have come out okay is because they were in a market which was kind of going up 10% every year. And it's like a booming housing market. When that becomes much more tricky for these people that don't have the knowledge and the skill, or the right level of knowledge and skill, and make those fundamental mistakes, is when we're in a flat market, or perhaps even a slightly declining market. You know, I think at the moment, house prices are definitely not shooting up like they were. I know you've got pockets of, there's some, you know, different areas where you think, oh wow, that has gone up 10%. But most of it hasn't, right? So sometimes you get these people that they'll overspend, pay way too much on the construction, and in a non-booming market, they could really come unstuck after. Whereas one of the things that, because you can have all the money in the world and become a property investor, but that doesn't mean that you've got the right knowledge and the right skill set to do it properly. So I think that is really fundamental. If someone wants to start, is build your knowledge, build your skill set, go to networking events if there are any good ones near you, read the property magazines, you know, listen to the podcast, the YouTubes, and all the things that you can get yourself out there. Go to any webinars or workshops that are good. But that does lead me on to one other thing, which I have touched a few times in this podcast already, is about just be careful, because there are some sharks out there in the property industry as well. And I don't know if you've touched any sharks in terms of, there's some certain property education companies which do charge huge extortionate amounts of money and don't deliver good value for money. You get stuff from it, but whether it gets you what it's worth. So have you ever gone in, do you do any property education, and have you been through any, and what do you think of it, I suppose?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the Developers Club.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, I've been in the Developers Club coming on a year now. Which is property education in itself. You're surrounded by people that are like-minded, like yourself. So
what is that? Just for anyone who's not heard of the Developers Club. I know about them because obviously I've spoken to the owner.
Developers Club, Shiro and Sean are based in Manchester.
Yeah.
We'd have a lot of meets in London. You have stages where you learn. So you have a morning of learning, all different stages, planning, how to get through planning, development, exit, you know, all of that. And then you just talk about your projects, what you've got ongoing. You have advice from everybody else in the room, so it's been really good for me and really helped me. I've had a couple of mentoring sessions on some deals, which I'd advise anybody to do. I've never actually fully fledged paid for property education. I know there's a lot of people calling. A lot of people out on the internet at the minute on YouTube. I see everybody's calling out everyone for... I
tend not to say any names and try and say like, this person's useless, that person's good. Yeah. Because I think there's a spectrum, and for some people, you know, a rent-to-rent course could be perfect for them if they want to start a business. For someone else who's an experienced person in property that wants to really go more into property development, Millbank, the Developers Club, there's a whole host of stuff, right? And it's each to their own. Go out there, do your research, find what suits you. But I suppose it's just maybe being cautious of not falling into one of the ones where it isn't.
I mean, with the sounds of it, it's happening. But there's a lot of people calling people out on X, Y, and Z, whatever they've done. I don't like it myself. I think it's bad energy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. It's not something that I'd ever get into or name call but there's a lot of good property educators out there, you know, but really, I mean, I learned everything from YouTube on the internet, you know, reading books, little things like reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, I read that years
fantastic
ago.
book.
It's very, for a lot of people, that can be one of the first books that kind of just shifts that thing in your head about time versus money, and, you know, working for someone else versus working for yourself, and those different stages of building passive income, as they call it. It's quite, you know, then you read it, and then you go and start, and you think, oh, it's not.
It's like light bulb.
This can be done. You know.
Like Rich Dad Poor Dad educated me, reading books about the gold standard and seeing the gold price over time. Yeah. You know, you'd never keep any, you know, you read books on the gold standard, you will never keep fiat money in your bank again. You know, at the minute, because the property machine's going, I'm trying to delve into like a macroeconomic, you know, I'm not like, I did all right in my GCSEs, but I wouldn't say I'm that clever. I've just worked hard at what I've done, but like the macroeconomics, like,
you enjoy that bit.
I do, because I look at like my Mansfield town where I am, I'm going to outgrow it very, very soon. I'm going to have to go into the bigger deals. With the bigger deals, I'm going to have to go into cities. And if I'm going to go into a city, you know, I know Nottingham City, you know, it's my home city. if I was to go in Sheffield, Derby, I really want to delve in depth into the numbers, population trends, what really grows property, and the real. It's an obsession for me because I have got to do it the most optimum way. You know, if I've got a contractor on site and knows not pulling his weight, I will lie in bed at night thinking about it. And I'll think, right, in the morning, he's having it, he's got to do that, you know.
It's a brilliant trait, by the way, because there's a lot of people who unfortunately don't have that. And if they've got a problem with a contractor on site, they might do the opposite. They might bury their head in the sand, avoid confrontation, not address and hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And that's always the worst thing to do, isn't it? So,
yeah, property is an obsession to me. It really is. I've just gone head on into property, and you know, it's a profitable thing to be in, and it's you know, me and my missus lie in bed at night. My missus is on a Pretty Little Thing, looking at dresses. I'm on Rightmove. That's that's us in a nutshell.
Yeah.
You know, I've just flat out property.
Amazing.
You know, trying to educate myself in any which way. I might be. I've been looking into a small course from the LSE, London School of Economics, and real estate economics and finance.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to try and book on a course to try and eventually lead to a diploma, so I can really, if I want to take it, you know, bigger and go into the bigger cities and really do it the optimum way, I've got to get really educated through the numbers and looking at cities which aren't my own city, which I know the economics of that city, which could drive prices up and down.
That's super. What's quite interesting, I think, in some of the things that you're saying is someone listening to this who's perhaps much earlier in their career or start of property investing journey, they would probably, being really honest with you, Jack, they'd listen and think, this guy's absolutely made it already. Like, look at how successful he is, your balance sheet, your businesses that you've got. And they'd think, why the hell does he want to go back to a university now and do this degree in something that, and they might think that you learn it, you know it all, you've learned it all already, and there's no more room for learning. But I think what really happens is if you've got an inquiring mind and you are someone that is trying to better yourself and become more knowledgeable and grow, that you never stop learning and you're always pushing yourself to keep growing and becoming better at what you do. And so, you know, hats off to you for, I don't think I've been to uni and I don't think I want to do it.
Do?
I did accounting and finance. We studied Marks and Spencer's accounts for about 3 years straight. I was sick to death of it by the end. And also when you're at uni, you know, a lot of people there, not all of them, but there's a lot of people that they're just get pissed up and just turn up late for lectures, and they're not really there to do anything with their lives, is what I found. And I was the opposite. I was the one working a full-time job whilst studying and trying to do side businesses to come out with no student debt. And so the things are not aligned. A lot of people that are going to uni, not all, but some are it's just one big DOS, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but I think at your stage in your life, when you're already successful, to then go off and study something like amazing.
Yeah,
really.
there's a lot. I've always got the mindset, you know, that I'm skint. You know, I pay myself, you know, naff all out my company, really. You know, I live a very frugal life, no big flashy cars, no, you know, I go on 2 holidays a year, and that will never change. You know, I always think I'm skint. I always think I'm a student and need to learn, a student of the property game. You know, I'm getting there. I've learned a lot. I love meeting people, building owners, and it's almost like financial engineering. I just love it. Meeting a building owner. I was the property unencumbered. I've done loads of deals like that. But if the property's unencumbered, you know, lender finance. There's all sorts that you can do with regards to finance, legal charges, and I call it financial engineering. How you can gear up deals, and going into the bigger deals, you've really got to know the economics of it, of the area and everything. Well, I couldn't go into a deal without having a bit more education. So, you know, it's never going to stop for me.
Brilliant.
I mean, I'm going to slow down when I'm 40, try and get my handicap down. But, you know, Monday to Thursday, I'm still going to be smashing it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still going to be flat out learning, trying to get the bigger deals.
It's amazing. I normally like to round up with a recommendation, but you've given quite a few recommendations already. But if you could think of, other than Rich Dad Poor Dad, a book that you potentially have read that helped, a podcast or a website or something that you use that the audience listening or watching you think would be good for them to go away and have a look into, let us know if you can.
It's a tough one. The two main ones for me are Rich Dad Poor Dad, Gold Standard.
Yeah, Gold Standard. I'll put a link to that. That sounds an interesting one.
Yeah, it's a good read. It's a good read.
I'm really glad that I invited you on because you've got amazing energy. You've got this fire in you, which, not all people have. And I can see you're really driven. And you're also very humble, Jack, as well. So, thank you so much for coming in and spending an hour with us here. I hope the viewers find it valuable. If they've got any questions, I'll get people to put them in the comments, and then perhaps you can help answer questions that people have as well.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
If you've enjoyed, feel free to like, comment and subscribe and all that sort of stuff, and we'll see you at the next one.